Well, a Manitoba family has questions about the time it took emergency responders to help two trapped crew members of a train derailment last month, one of them their son. Speaking publicly for the first time, the parents of Kevin Anderson wonder why he died and why more wasn't done to rescue him. CTV's Beth Macdonell reports.
Even hours after the train plunged into the creek, its 59-year-old engineer and 38-year-old conductor Kevin Anderson were alive, legs pinned and with a broken hip, his family says, but calm, talking, confident help was on its way. Anderson's mother, Debbie Leeper, says she too was reassured until a phone call with the hospital.
I called back and she said only one passenger is in the ambulance. And it wasn't my son.
The Transportation Safety Board of Canada says on September 15th, the train was traveling 40 kilometers per hour when it hit a washout near Ponton on the Hudson Bay Railway. Leeper believed her son died on impact until another call from a prospector in the area who told her he heard the crash around 3:30 in the afternoon and helped get a helicopter pilot to the site who called 911. But RCMP say the crash was reported around 5:45, with officers arriving around 7 and spent 5 hours with the trapped men until emergency responders showed up before midnight with a rail truck and equipment beginning rescue operations. Police say they had to make the area safe as the train had been carrying liquid petroleum gas. RCMP say Anderson died close to 1 in the morning. Leeper says emergency responders were just 12 kilometers away and doesn't know why her son died close to 9 hours after the crash.
Why would you think help wasn't coming?
Arctic Gateway Group, which owns the railway, says it had an emergency measures plan that was followed, and RCMP and the Thompson Fire Department were in control of the site. The Transportation Safety Board says its investigation is ongoing. The Rail Workers Union has asked Manitoba's chief medical examiner to conduct a coroner's inquest.
Why was it okay for 2 RCMP officers and 4 civilians to be on scene, but paramedics and firefighters weren't allowed in?
Anderson's mother says her son used the prospector's phone to call home, but missed the call, and before dying, asked to pass along the message he loved his family very much. Sandy.
CTV's Beth Macdonell. There were signs of stepped-up security at another border crossing, Emerson, Manitoba, where there's been a surge of asylum seekers slipping into Canada from the U.S. Well, another 21 arrived this weekend. CTV's Beth Macdonell went to both sides of the border for a closer look at the migration north.
By day, a U.S. border security helicopter hovers. By night, RCMP officers scan the horizon. Sensors and cameras pick up movement along this border. Still, this weekend, another 21 African men, women, and children managed to slip across.
Well, it's flat. You know, there's no mountains, so there's access roads, there's railway lines. It's just an easy place for them to come across.
The asylum seekers were processed at the Canada Border Services Agency before a van took them to Winnipeg to claim refugee status. In North Dakota, Vanessa Trodstall has seen the desperation firsthand. A Somali woman and her son stayed at her motel after getting rejected at the official border crossing.
This lady had all the papers. I cried with her. It was really sad.
Minneapolis is a hub on this growing underground refugee railroad. Men pay smugglers up to $600 to be driven from there to near the Manitoba border. When they're close, the smuggler points north. Then they walk. Asylum seekers snuck through at 2 locations. One route in Noise, Minnesota, where 16 people from Djibouti crossed, and this more treacherous path on the open prairie, where 5 Somalis made the trek. Asylum seekers who managed to cross the border through this frozen field go from trying to hide to trying to be found. People with cell phones will make a call to 911. Others will enter into Emerson in the hopes that someone will make the call for them. Back in Emerson, safety officer Jay Imey offered first aid to the 21 people. Imey says the numbers are getting larger.
I think we've seen an increase in women now. We're seeing the odd family unit come across too.
People helping the asylum seekers say it's exhausting working through the night, but say they're there to assist and will keep answering the calls as they come in. Beth Macdonell, CTV News, by the U.S.-Canada border.
And that is where we begin tonight with CTV's Beth Macdonell on the devastating midsummer surprise.
No, it's like right there, Jace.
It's like right here, but...
Whether people saw the tornado from a basement window or the passenger side of a vehicle, it was a similar reaction.
Very, very traumatic.
After it tore through, shock and sadness at where so much ended up.
Well, that's my Dodge. It's pretty much a mess.
When the Ralph family learned that Twister was headed towards their campground, they took shelter in a nearby basement, huddled together with others when the force of the vortex ripped the home off the ground.
We went in the pump room and the whole house left.
Kelly Brown's grandfather, 77-year-old Jack Furry, did not survive. He says the retired teacher didn't have a basement and lived alone. His dog is alive on a property left unrecognizable.
It's not home anymore. It's just somewhere now. Some place that I used to know.
A few doors down, Brown says his aunt and uncle, also in their 70s, were sent to hospital after a wall came down on them. They've now been released. Environment and Climate Change Canada says it's sending a team to determine the intensity of the tornado and plans to use a drone to get an aerial view of the damage. On the beach, the cleanup has begun, and hydro crews are working to restore power to hundreds of customers. Still, for campground owner James Bruce, who was in this kitchen when the windows blew out, there's a lot of work ahead.
Hopefully the government steps in and helps us out a little bit.
The Ralphs are thankful to be alive.
You know, if you have a house with no basement, get out of it, because that basement saved our lives.
Leaning on each other, contemplating the mess left behind. Beth Macdonell, CTV News, near Alonza.
So, Beth, what happened?
Winnipeg police say they received a call around 6:30 yesterday morning of a 42-year-old man being shot. Police say he was walking south on Power Street and told them he was shot by an unknown person for an unknown reason. The Bear Clan Patrol tells me he was on his way to a construction job at their new Selkirk office. I also connected with one of the man's co-workers who told me when he was walking, he heard someone yell, "Hey!" He turned around and a bullet grazed his shoulder. She also tells me that he's in shock and fears for his safety. I asked Winnipeg police if this was a random shooting, why it wasn't released to the public sooner.
We didn't have all the facts to do that, so we really had to wait till we had some information from the victim to confirm that this was in fact unprovoked random shooting.
Winnipeg police say the man was taken to hospital in unstable condition but has been upgraded to stable condition. No arrests have been made. Coming up at 6, we talk to a man living near where the shooting happened. He saw the victim and called 911.
All right, thanks for this, Beth.
People from this whole area, the pre-screening area of the departures part of the airport, had to leave. This is hundreds of people. They were sent out for about 1 hour outside. One lady telling me she had no idea she was going to be out there for so long and got cold. Other people just confused. They weren't told why they had to leave. They were just told to get out.
What type of garbage is being dumped there?
Many types of household items. There is broken glass, carpets, blinds, wood. There's even a calculator here. Since early Sunday morning, hundreds of volunteers have been making 15,000 sandbags. While we can't stop the invasion from washing up on the shores of Lake Winnipeg, it doesn't necessarily mean the lake will die.
Is there any water coming out of the taps there still?
Water is still flowing from the taps, and the town says it's safe to drink, but there's not nearly enough for the close to 4,000 people who live here. Residents are now coming to this drive-through to pick up bottled water, and the town says they will have to continue coming here for several more days. So the tree can actually be sick, even though it looks healthy. Now, if you look closely, you can see these squiggly lines. They're called a gallery. Several shots were fired. Take a look at the trail of shell casings along Donald Street. I counted 9. But with a bridge already at Donald Street and another at Osborne Street just meters away, some wonder if the project is the right one for Winnipeg. It takes 500 plastic bags to make each sleeping mat. It's lightweight, easy to wash, and provides a cushiony protection from a cold, hard floor. These 4 jets coming all the way from Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan to mark this very special night.
Hey, Beth, what kind of massive pumpkins are we talking about here?
Gord, Marilee, we're talking about massive pumpkins I cannot even get my arms around, let alone pick up. You have them for whenever you want to take a peek at the sun. It looks round and orange, almost like a moon right now.
All right, thanks a lot, Beth.